You look like Gwyneth Paltrow on food stamps, and not in a good way.
Not in a good way. It looks like you got buccal fat removal, and not in a good way. That was one of those words that I had only ever read, and I think I was reading it as like buccal fat.
That makes sense.
And then I heard somebody say it out loud, and I was like, oh, I never would have come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
myself.
I feel that.
You know, Mommy hasn't had her bone broth yet today, so don't talk to... I really wanted to make custom shirts for Henry's brother, who loves Kerrygold butter, like the brand Kerrygold. And so I wanted to make him a shirt that says, don't talk to Mommy till she's had her butter, with like the Kerrygold logo. But I missed out, so maybe next year for Christmas.
I think Nick,
absolutely. If you're listening. This is The Swamp. It's our podcast. It's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting. And today we're talking about the 2021, debut film of both Rachel Sennett and Emma, what's her name?
Seligman?
Seligman? Yeah. Shiva Baby.
Yes, 78 minutes of just pure rompery. And like
anxiety.
And not, I was gonna say rompery, like in a good way, but also not in a good way. Which I think this movie is the prime example of that you don't have to make your art, your content, your story, whatever, any longer than it needs to be. Yeah. This movie is perfect. And they didn't need to pad anything. No. And it still feels like a fulfilling watch. You know, it's more than an hour. It hits all the beats it needs to. And I feel like we come off as a very long movie podcast. And I feel like I always use this as my excuse of like, I like Lord of the Rings. So I'm not advocating that everything should be 90 minutes. I'm just advocating when I'm editing your film in my mind, cut shit out. I don't want.
Yeah, I remember seeing this movie, I think like around the time when it came out. And I don't think I had ever had so much anxiety watching a movie before.
It is very of that, like, I think there's a super specific pocket of, like, tone that when they get it, of movies that cause that, like, suspenseful building, it's building and eventually it tips and you get so much, like, secondhand anxiety from watching it that I feel like only a few movies, like, truly accomplish that, like, almost from the jump. Like, everything. And I think it's a big credit to both Rachel Sennett and the director for capturing that hyper-specific feeling, because you as an audience cannot help but feel the stress, like the tonal stress of this movie is portrayed in just like the score is fucking perfect.
The dissonant plucking of the violin
and like the cinematography, the like kind of shaky handheld cam.
Yeah, the tunnel vision,
like almost horror movie editing
It
style.
is horror movie. I would say this does classify as a horror movie, at least to me.
A psychological thriller, if you will. Wow. Well, that's it, you guys. That's the podcast. We can end it now. We've officially morphed into one
same person.
One homogenous lump of movie feedback that no one asked for.
But to give a little recap, I mean, there's not much to recap, basically.
Yeah, it's it's just kind of a vibes movie. Yeah. It's just pure vibes. But Rachel Sennett plays Danielle, who is initially seen having sex with this man who is, presumably a sugar daddy type. He, like, gives her a gift, and he gives her some money, and he talks about, like, oh, you're like other clients. So it's presumably that she's in some sort of, like, sex work, sugar baby, arrangement with, multiple people is the, like, the conversational, takeaway. But then she has to go to Shiva, which is like the Jewish thing you do after a funeral, right?
Yeah.
Or
sending Shiva.
I think she said, what is it? It's like that was just the after party of
basically, yeah. It's it's the same as like any funeral. You kind of have the reception, I guess.
Yes.
For it.
Yeah. My family usually does that at a bar, which is, well, we're like Irish Catholic though, so that's, how you usually...
Smart though.
That's how that goes. But she has to go to the Shiva, and the sugar daddy who we had previously seen is like a family friend, former co-worker type situation. Yeah. And so it's very obviously tense and uncomfortable. And Danielle's ex-girlfriend, who's also like a family friend sort of situation, is there. So it's just a lot of like crossing paths of awkwardness, and then on top of that, like, old people asking you what you're gonna do after college, which is the scariest thing of all, actually.
Horrifying.
Like, would you rather bump into an ex or have to answer, like, a, distant relative, like, so what are you doing for work these days?
Bump into an ex.
Yeah, absolutely bump into the
Easily.
ex. That's the thing I feel like I've sort of learned is, like, any post-college, or even while you're in college, it's so awful. Like, well, what are you studying? Those conversations are awful. You kind of get your, like, prepackaged answer. And this movie so relatably, I think almost every person can, like, who's, been to school, or even not, just, like, having family members ask you about, like, what you're doing with your life and, like, not having a good or, like, pleasing answer for them, that you, like, pre-package it, and there's, like, the great scene where she's talking to her parents, and they're, like, basically coaching her what to say, but it's, like, not the truth, and she clearly is telling different people different things because it's just, like, what they want to hear.
Yeah.
But, talking to people about, like, honestly, I respect my friends' privacy. I don't know what any of my friends do for work. I honestly, Emily, I know you work at Trader Joe's, but your other job that's, like, at some arts center, I don't ask you about it because I don't want you to ask about my job. Yeah. It's awful. But I'm like, I respectfully don't know what any of my friends do for work.
Yeah. No.
Or, like...
everyone has more interesting things going on in their lives than just what they do to make a fucking paycheck.
Because I'm also, like, don't ask me about my job because I don't want to talk about it because it's just, like, so not the topic. But... yeah, being asked, like, oh, so you have interviews lined up? Oh, what kind of internships are you doing? I just remember, like, wanting to crawl out of my fucking skin. And that's, like, 90% of this movie is just, like, dissonant violin plucking along with, like, some great aunt being like, you need to eat. You look skinny. Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah. What are you doing for work? It's just...
Yeah, this movie, the first time I watched it was around the time that I was graduating, so it really hit home a lot in the way that you're like, I don't know what I'm doing and everything like that. And now I'm 2 years out of graduation, and it hit even harder because, like, it felt like, especially after you're, like, graduating, like, you're not expected to have your shit together yet, but now I'm sitting here, I'm, like, 2 years out, I still don't have my shit together, and, like, very much the conversation that I really loved with Danielle and her mom, where she's, like, just spilt coffee on her, and she's, like, asking her, like, are you disappointed in me, and everything like that, and the really breaking point scene when Danielle, like, accidentally tumbles over the books and just has a total breakdown, because you can tell she feels so out of control in her life, like, really just hit me super hard this time. Like, I have been there many a times when you just start crying because you're like, I can't do anything.
And not that I'm, like, in any, I never had the law school or, like, medical school prepackaged answer that is, like, what you want, but I did go to grad school, and I work for the government. That's a pretty, like, good prepackaged answer, and I will tell you, being asked those questions does not feel any different. Yeah. That even when you do have a good answer, I'm still like, I want to kill myself, thank you. Like, not actually, but, like, because of the question you're asking me. Yeah. Like, vibes. Even when you have your shit together, you don't. Like... yeah,
I think that's something I'm realizing as I grow older, is that you never feel, like...
a real adult.
Yeah, or, like... I don't know, in control. Like, I used to feel like very much like I was, like, waiting for my life to kind of start and everything like that. And I miss that luxury of being like, oh, I can kind of do whatever I want. Because, like, when you're in college, it's really just this purgatory. You know what I mean? Like, all I have to do is what the teachers are telling me. And other than that, I can go out and party, and I can sit in my house and smoke my weed and just, like, rot. You know what I mean? And I can go to, like, my little club meeting.
But then it turns out, once college is over, you can just keep doing that.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. But then I have to, like, actually go out and find a job that's, like, not, like, the Starbucks on campus kind of thing. Yeah. I'm like, fuck.
And, like, what is, like, constitutes as, like, a quote-unquote real job, right? Because
exactly.
In the grand scheme of things, a lot of entry-level positions nowadays, have a salary, but when you do the math, it is just minimum wage. So your friends who are bartenders are making more than you with a master's degree, so it all shakes out in the end, but it's very...
everything's bullshit, everything's fake.
Yeah, and the hyperfixation of adults wanting to label things, I think is, rings really true, and the Daniel character is very much, like, a product of, like, the college board era, I want to say, of, like, every kid gets pushed into school, regardless whether they want to go or not. And then all these colleges just take your money, and they do things like, oh, we'll create your own major. Just make it up. Take French and psychology, and then we'll give you a degree in French psychology.
Yeah.
Like, we don't give a shit whether you actually, like, develop as a human. We just suck your money out of you. And
Exactly.
And her parents being like, oh yeah, she's studying gender business. Like, that's such a, I feel like that's such a modern day, like, college is not actually, because, you know, oh, the cousin who's going to law school is so respectable, but the kid going to school for gender business is not respectable. Then they have a whole conversation where it's like, oh, well, she's just gonna make her own job up. Which is, it's truly presented as an option to a lot of, I say kids, but like early, you know, young adults nowadays. It's like, oh, well, the world is moving so fast that the job you have, it doesn't even exist yet. So don't even put yourself in the box of something, you know, but like, that's not fucking easy for people who need to pay bills, you know, you can't, that is given to a lot of kids, I think, as a real option when it is in fact not. Or, you know, it's not easy, I guess.
Exactly. But,
Oh, but also it's Pride Month.
yeah, by the way.
Oh, yeah, 10 minutes into this podcast. So the theme of this month that we're doing, because it is Pride Month, every year in the past we have done some sort of Pride thing, and we wanted to keep on that, but we wanted this year for it to be a little more like, what is this? I don't want to say genuine, but like, what is it called when you do things for like activism? It's not activism. This is not an activist podcast, because last year we did queer awakening movies, which were mostly just like fucking cartoons. So we wanted this year to be a little more grounded. So we are going to do all movies that have some actual queer person on, whether they wrote it, directed it. I think we're going to stretch to based on a book written by at some point. But we wanted actual movies made by queer people, because a lot of what is considered like queer representation, when you peel back the curtains, it's just made by a bunch of straight people, you know? Like, I think Brokeback Mountain is like, we talked a lot about that on that episode, but a lot of, you know, gay movies or, you know, movies that deal with queer issues aren't actually made by queer people, and it's really important to support media that is actually made by queer people. So Emma Seligman, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but she, you know, talks a lot about, you know, how gender is a spectrum, and how, I don't believe that they identify as being non-binary, but definitely have expressed, you know, that gender fluidity is something that they want to put into the stuff that they make a lot. And I believe also just identifies as being sexually fluid. Again, I believe no labels, just generally open. And I also really, we can get into how this movie kind of deals with like not putting the like bisexual label on the Danielle character, but rather just like relative openness is a pretty, it's not a modern concept, but I think it's something that people have the vocabulary for now.
Yeah.
That
like just using queer instead of like having to give everything a label, which I really love, because every time like a character in a movie like pops up, it's,
hi, I'm pansexual Peter, and I have a, you know, and I'm really being a staple for the whole community to latch onto. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly.
But I also think it's not a new concept, but because like newer language is being put to it, a lot of like, I don't want to say older people don't understand, but I think this movie does a good job of, her mom says like, well, you're glad I'm so open-minded, but yet is like, you know, don't be doing any funny business with that girl you went to prom with, who's, you know, just basically your cousin. Like, I think a lot of people, older people who are like relatively liberal or accepting, still have a hard time with these newer concepts of like, absolutely. Oh yeah, like I don't say that I'm gay, but you can say that you're just like open, right? And like that can be, those two things can be sort of interchangeable. Like, I think a lot of older people are really stuck on labels, especially I remember when we were in high school, the GSA, the teacher who ran the GSA kind of like had it out for a lot of the non-binary students because they used the argument that like they them can't be a singular thing, which is just like
ridiculous,
which is actually grammatically incorrect. I'm like, okay, you're an English teacher and you're trying to tell this like 14-year-old who wants to use they them pronouns that that's invalid. Like, first of all, you should not be running any sort of organization that is supposed to be about accepting and openness, but they were really like, oh, well, back in the day, we hated labels. So you should not want to hyperfixate on, like, saying that you're this thing or whatever. But I'm like, sometimes it makes people feel good to have that vocabulary to describe how they feel, you know? So, like,
and sometimes it makes people feel good to, like, not have to put a label on it. So like, that's, like, part of the beauty of being, like, in the queer community.
But I think that this movie deals with it, and we were pretty excited that the timing of this, the trailer for...
Bottoms!
Bottoms. So Rachel Sennett is also in it, but it's the same director as Shiva Baby. And
it's about, like, I think it's, like, high school, like, queer girls fight club is basically, like, the one-line pitch of the movie. But the trailer drops this coming Monday, so, like, what, the 5th? Yeah, June 5th.
Yep.
So I'm so stoked about that. I've just, like, that's probably my most anticipated movie of this year.
And it comes out in August, you said, right?
Yeah, August 25th. I'm so stoked. I think it's gonna be a fucking romp. All of the reviews I've seen on, like, Letterboxd for it already say amazing things.
I know it premiered at South by Southwest, which I got to go to last year because I was, like, an unpaid intern for a bullshit thing, but I got to go. And I got to see Bodies, Bodies, Bodies at the premiere, and Rachel Sennett was there. So I've been in the same room as her, which is...
That's my fucking queen.
Which is pretty... she is the movie star that, like, I think... we deserve right now.
Yes.
Like, she is just so unserious that I love it. Everything she puts out, that video where she's like, tits, huge.
Juicy. Pussy.
Tight.
Wet.
She's just so fun. And she's like, the one where she's like, it's LA. We're in LA.
Yeah.
She's just so funny.
Classic.
And I love that she just, like, dresses like a little bimbo slut and just is living her best life. I don't know. She just seems to be very authentically herself. And clearly attaches herself to projects that are cool and good. Because I think I've liked just about everything she's done so far.
I think she's in, isn't she in, what is it? The Idol or whatever, that new Sam Levinson show.
Yes, I feel like I saw her premiere look for that. So maybe I rescind my statement. Maybe not everything she's attached to is cool and good.
I think that probably when she got attached to it, it was cool and good. And then I heard Sam Levinson basically came on
and rewrote the whole thing.
Rewrote the entire script, and they had to reshoot about 70% of the entire show. And it's basically softcore, like, misogynistic, like, porn.
Yeah, everything I've heard about that show just seems foul.
I think he's dog shit. I fucking hate him.
Yeah. Euphoria who? But yeah, Rachel Sennett, her Instagram presence, I think is just, like, fucking hilarious. I love all the pictures she posts, like, at the after parties to these movie premieres, because she is just not afraid of letting everyone know that she is, like, kind of messy. Like, I just love it.
Love it. Yeah, no, the fact that she's, like, grew up, like, 15 minutes from where I live right now.
I love that.
Tells me something.
Yeah,
like, okay, Connecticut.
Yeah. I see you go. But she is also not Jewish.
No, we've talked about this a handful of times.
Yeah.
It's the Italian passing.
The Jewish passing Italian American acting guild. There's gotta be one at this point. I saw we've talked before about like actors playing roles that are not their demographic in the past. I think we talked about it on our Grand Budapest Hotel episode at some length. But I saw a pretty good TikTok recently that broke it down in a way that I think I kind of agree with. And that is that it's not really a huge deal if you're playing a role that is a demographic where somebody in that demographic it could be swapped, right? Mm-hmm. So Jewish people play non-Jewish characters all the time.
Yes.
Actually, Diana Agron Diana Agron is Jewish and plays the only canonically non-Jewish character in this film.
Oh, true!
Right? So non-Jewish, or Jewish actors play non-Jewish characters all the time. So a non-Jewish person playing a Jewish character, it is a little, you could make an argument but that is not nearly as bad as a trans...
Yes.
A cis person playing a trans character, because trans people are not given the opportunity to play non-trans characters very often, like very rarely. And I would love to see a world where that is the case, but I think we're like taking slow steps. So when there is a role that is trans, you should hire a fucking trans actor. Like that just let's...
Not a big ask.
Right, so I thought that was a great way to put it, where you can kind of put it on that scale of, like, could it be flipped? And that's kind of how you can judge your level of criticism. So I think it's maybe not a huge deal that Rachel Sennett isn't Jewish, but the fact that this whole movie is about, like, Jewish people at a Jewish cultural gathering doing, like, a big Jewish family thing together is like, okay, like, really? But the director, I think she wrote it, directed it, and, like, maybe, like, also produced it.
I think it started as a short film, from what I recall.
Yes. Also starring Rachel Sennett, so she was attached to it, like, from day one. But yeah, the creator of this is Jewish, so at least we have got that, you know?
I mean, this movie truly, like, gives me, like, I've been to a shiva after I've seen this movie. I am Jewish now that I've watched this. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like... I don't know. It's any family gathering times, like, 900. You know what I mean? And the way it's edited after... Okay. Basically, there's this one scene where she ends up trying to... I don't know. Danielle feels very powerless in her life right now. She has no clue what's going on. And there's this one point where she goes and she tries to suck her sugar daddy's dick in the bathroom.
Time and place.
Right.
And you did it at my birthday dinner.
And she basically gets rejected. And that is, like, so crushing that she can't even have, like, a power play, like, in any way, shape, or form. Like, still getting rejected. And it basically cuts to, like, a horror movie edit after that.
Yeah, shaky, like, Dutch angled, shaky handheld cams.
Like, it's just so much. And then, what is it? I think after that, it breaks to probably the queerest part of this movie. Definitely the queerest part of this movie. This is after Danielle and her kind of ex, I'm gonna say it was a situationship.
Yeah, I think
her
the implication...
situationship Maya, played by Molly Gordon, who I love.
Yeah, also just super great. I mostly know that she was in Booksmart, but she's been in a couple of things.
She's gonna be in the new season of The Bear.
Oh, cool.
Did you not watch The Bear?
No.
Oh, okay. But...
No, I just saw all the thirst traps of Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah.
Which is all I needed. Jen, back at it again for another chocolate or vanilla interim podcast segment. My lovely mother, Jen. And that is not me speaking colloquially. She is my biological birth mother. She is here. She says two things, and we all say which one we like more. It's a game where you get to say your opinion, which is pretty cool. Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm not too bad. I'm having a nice little afternoon cup of coffee, getting myself ready to...
watch Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah. Mentally prepping for the onslaught that is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Nice.
Yeah, not too bad.
Is there anything,
pretty good.
Is there anything in your coffee, or?
No, not yet, but we're getting there.
I had hazelnut coffee this morning. It was so good.
Oof.
Fancy.
That's nice.
Is there a theme this week?
Yeah, so there's a theme. It is Glee guest stars.
Ooh.
Glee guest stars. I like that. In honor of Miss Diana Argon. Argon?
Yeah. Agron.
Agron?
I think so.
Wow, I've been saying that wrong my whole life.
Diana Argan Oil.
No, I figured I was going to do Glee, but it's just too sad, so I did Glee guest stars.
Glee is too sad.
Yeah,
you're
truly.
right.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Idina Menzel or Kristen Chenoweth?
Ooh, Idina Menzel casted as Rachel Berry's mom was so genius. So I have to say, because like looks wise, but also just like the whole theory of it is just perfect. So I gotta go with Idina.
I think I'm gonna go Kristen Chenoweth just because I like her character a lot more.
That's fair.
Yeah, that is fair. I'm gonna pick Idina Menzel. Neil Patrick Harris or Jonathan Groff?
Oh, Jonathan Groff as what's his name? Jesse
St. James.
Jesse St. James. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Who calls him Groff sauce? Is that just a thing that you say, Jen?
No, that's like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
Aaron taught me that. We call him Groff sauce. I love Jonathan Groff.
Yeah, Jen's a big Groff head, if you will.
Yeah. I'm also gonna go for Jonathan Groff on this one. I think he played Jesse perfectly.
Yes, I love him. Next one is Gwyneth Paltrow or Grant Gustin.
Who's Grant Guskin?
Oh, he's Sebastian.
Oh.
He's also Barry Allen the Flash.
Yes, okay.
Better known as.
I am gonna have to go with Gwyneth on this one though, because when she sings Landslide with Santana and Brittany, is it Santana and Brittany? Yeah, that was like the world stopped turning for a moment there.
That shit makes me spiral. I'm also gonna go for Gwyneth on this because I think her character is fantastic.
Yeah, I love Grant Gustin, so I'm going to go with Grant. Next one is Ricky Martin or John Stamos.
Ooh, I don't recall either of these people being in Glee. It's been a minute for me since I last indulged in the guilty pleasure that is Glee. But I just based off of... Wasn't there a whole thing recently where, like, Ricky Martin got accused of, like, doing something inappropriate with one of his nephews, but then it got, like, cleared or something? It was, like, just a rumor. I don't know. But he was in the American Crime Story Versace.
Yeah,
he's pretty good in that. So
was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick him.
I'm gonna go for John Stamos because one of my favorite episodes was featuring him, the Britney episode.
Mm-hmm. Who does he play?
He plays Emma's boyfriend at the time, and he's a dentist.
Yeah, he's like a dentist.
I like that.
Yeah, what is it? It's when Brittany and Santana sing Me Against the Music, and they're just getting put under for a cleaning, basically. And they have this amazing duo.
I love that.
Oh, it's fantastic. That was my sexual awakening.
I loved when Emma and her dentist boyfriend sang Afternoon Delight.
Oh, yup.
Yeah, that is good.
Now. It's coming back to me now.
I'll go John Stamos also. And then next one is Kate Hudson or Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, does it? Whoopi Goldberg plays like the person who decides whether Rachel gets
the Neana judge.
Carmen Thibodeau.
Yes. Oh my god, I love Whoopi. Whoopi, as controversial as her opinions on The View are, I don't care. I love Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, it's Whoopi for me. No question about it. She's very slay in this.
Yeah, Whoopi for the sweep, 100%. Next one is Demi Lovato or Adam Lambert.
Again, I don't remember either of these people being on Glee.
They're in the later seasons.
Yeah, it's a later season. Like, Demi plays Santana's girlfriend when they're all waitressing at the cafe, and Adam Lambert is in they're all in a band together. He plays Star Child. It's when they live in the city.
I don't know if I have a good reason to dislike Adam Lambert, but I think he just kind of annoys me, so I'm gonna pick Demi Lovato.
Yeah, I think I'm also gonna go for Demi Lovato because it's Pride Month, and if that's Santana's girlfriend, then that's a good enough reason for me.
So true.
I'll pick Adam Lambert because it's Pride Month. I love him. Cheyenne Jackson or Matt Bomer.
Cheyenne Jackson and Matt Bomer look exactly alike. Those men are indistinguishable to me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pick Matt Bomer just out of principle, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same.
If all of those, like, white men who look exactly the same who are on all the seasons of American Horror Story, like, if they all morphed together, I think, like, the dominant trait of Matt Bomer would
probably
overtake them all. Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Matt Bomer too because I love him. I think he's awesome, and he plays Blaine's brother. Plays Cooper Anderson.
I had a friend in grad school who didn't know that Matt Bomer was gay, and she was registering for her classes in undergrad. And her phone background was Matt Bomer, and somebody was like, why is Matt Bomer your phone background? And she's like, because he's my husband, and I love him, and he's my favorite, he's like my celebrity crush of all time. And they're like, you know he's gay, right? And she was so, like, taken aback that she got out of line and, like, missed the registration for all her classes because she was, like, dealing from the emotional turmoil of learning that Matt Bomer was gay.
Shocker. He's so awesome, though. Have you guys ever watched the show White Collar? He's really good.
No.
Oh, unfortunately, yes. It's a procedural that I got sucked into that I can objectively say is not a good show, but that I have seen every single episode of.
Lindsay Lohan as herself, Britney Spears as herself, or Olivia Newton-John as herself?
Definitely gotta be Britney Spears as herself. Like you said, the Britney episode is really iconic.
Yeah, that changed me as a person, so Britney.
Yeah, that episode is awesome, but I'm going to go with ONJ because R.I.P. Olivia Newton-John. I loved her when I was younger. And last one is Jennifer Coolidge as Whitney S. Pierce or Jeff Goldblum as Rachel's dad.
I also don't recall either of these things, and these are two people that I just fiercely love and enjoy everything they do ever. But I think the casting of Jennifer Coolidge as Brittany's mom is really funny, so
Yeah.
I gotta go with JC on this one.
Of course I have to pick Jennifer Coolidge. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, same. I'll definitely pick Jennifer Coolidge. And that's it for my Glee guest star, Chocolate or Vanilla.
All right, bye, Jen. See you next week.
But throughout this whole Shiva, she's kind of like poking at Danielle because Danielle's acting like fucking insane and all that shit. And you can tell it's like out of like frustration and like not jealousy, but like anger because both of them are like upset that neither of them have like kept in touch kind of thing.
Yes.
But so there's this, I don't know, this break in all of the stress where Danielle goes outside to have a minute and she ends up running into Maya and they end up making out.
What did
And it's like,
you were like, when two femmes date?
no, literally. It is so like the dynamic of two femmes dating where like everyone is just like, they're just picking at each other until like the sexual tension just breaks and they have to make out.
Yeah, that character was super, like, weird to me because the implication is sort of like that they were, like, childhood friends, that they're, like, parents, that they're, like, you know, like, your pseudo-cousins. Like, you say that they're your cousins, but it's not really, but, like, you basically grew up together. I feel like the implication is, like, that is their relationship, but that also then they, like, did date in high school. Like, they mentioned that they went prom together, and the line, she's like, we fucked. She had her first orgasm. We're just like sisters. Like, it's just like, oh my god. Which, like, yeah, everyone kind of categorizing their relationship as, like, not having, like, validity to it. Like, I think their parents are like, oh, that gay phase you had with your cousin back in the day. Like, oh, like, whatever. Is, like, you know, I think a pretty good representation of, like, how that, you know, oh, it was a phase, like, we're gonna invalidate your relationship.
Again, still feeling powerless.
Yes, yeah, right? And this person being here is seriously causing some sort of, like, emotion for her. And she asked, she's like, oh, is Maya gonna be here? Or, like, or you didn't tell me Maya was gonna be here. And her parents are like, oh, well, like, why would we even think to?
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, we don't regard that as a person who should have that kind of, like, effect on you. Like, it shouldn't matter when, like, it does. But yeah, the whole, like, categorization of, like, oh, it's like your cousin, but, like, like, y'all were fucking. But the solidarity I feel like that young people have in those situations, like, when I'm at a gross family function, I know to not ask my cousins what they do for work.
Yeah, right.
Like I feel like you know all of the garbage ass questions that adults are piling onto you.
Yeah.
So the fact that she is like egging on the adults who are interrogating Danielle in this situation, like, oh, I thought you said you were gonna do this. No, you're not doing that anymore, is the perfect psychological warfare. Like, that is how you can truly break a person.
Yeah.
Is being like, this other person who is supposed to kind of have my back.
Yeah.
And she's like,
dog piling onto you.
You're lying? You're lying right now? Like, yes, of course I am. Like, and you are probably too.
Yeah.
She's just not as, like, the Danielle character is just too relatable because she's, like, a chaotic bisexual slut, pathological liar, you know, ashamed to her family.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, but the Maya character, like, oh, she's so frustrating to me, like, which I think she's supposed to be, obviously. But it's when she goes and, like, she finds Danielle's phone in the bathroom and, like, realizes that she's been doing, like, sex work and everything like that, and just, like, fucks her over. Like, is so mad about it when it's also, like, why is this your business? This podcast is pro sex work.
And especially, like, also anti-slut shaming, like,
right?
Like, that is such a low blow,
right?
Especially in that situation, in that movie. I'm like, oh, like, you were doing the low blow of, like, calling her out that she was lying about, like, school and jobs, but, like, that specifically, I'm like, oh, you really couldn't find something better to, like, be mad about, because obviously she's projecting some sort of personal feelings onto whatever she can grab onto to criticize Danielle because she's upset, and, you know, they sort of make up and then they don't and then they do again and they don't, which I feel like is a pretty like true portrayal of like what it's like to actually have a real conversation with someone in real life or like navigate a relationship. I think movies so often are like point A to point B and that's a plot, but it's not.
No, it's zigzags.
Yeah. But yeah, and there's a lot of like interesting, so you're layering sort of like the queer element and how the family is like non-responsive or like, you know, averse to that whole thing, but then there's the sex work element, which the family doesn't know about, but you have her relationship with the sugar daddy, which is like kind of being managed, and then when other like third parties are finding out, it's sort of this like wrench that gets thrown into everything, which I think is also like just a super nichely interesting dynamic to try to capture on film, which I think this does so, like, expertly.
I think that the character of Max, who plays her sugar daddy, was really excellently cast because I fucking hate his guts in this.
So slimy.
He's so slimy. He's so gross. Like, and you can tell he's just getting off on having this power over Danielle because he has no power in his marriage because his wife is the breadwinner and all that shit. And it's just so fucking nasty to watch. And, like, the amount of control he ends up having after Danielle, like, propositions him in the bathroom. Like, that just feels like a punch in the stomach seeing it.
And every scene between them, like, has that loaded tension, and I think those two actors are so fucking like brilliantly playing off of each other of like there's this thing between us that nobody but us knows, yet everyone knows. Everyone's like, have you guys met before? Like it is undeniable that there is this like underlying tension between them that they cannot avoid, which is again so I feel like would be so hard to capture on film through storytelling, like really hyper-specific niche things like that, when movies can make me feel it so deeply. Like, it's just so impressive to me.
Well, and that's one thing I love so much about this movie is there's, like, 3-hour movies where you can't, like, see a single drop of chemistry between any characters, but I feel like between every single character and Danielle in this movie, there is so much going back and forth. I love the rapport that her and her mother have. That is so good and so brilliant because, like, you can tell there's a lot of tension there because her mother is, like, you know, overbearing and everything like that, but she also wants the best for her daughter, and Danielle feels, like, so much pressure to, like, be the daughter that, like, you know, people that her parents are going to be proud of, and there's a whole line about that, and there's this whole part of it, and you can tell, like, Danielle's mother, like, knows what's going on almost, or, like, knows that there's something awry going on, but, like, can't really, like, communicate it.
And like, I love the scene where she's like, "You're acting so weird. Are you on drugs?" "Oh, just kidding. I love you." Like, I'm gonna say the thing, but then, like, brush over it really quick, like, just in case, but I'm still, like...
I'm still concerned.
Expressing concern. I think the mom... Yeah, like you said.
I loved her performance.
And the dad, too. I didn't really recognize them. I looked up their IMDb's. I didn't really recognize either of them from much else that they've been in, but they both are really great. And then jump scare Diana Agron. I'm like, okay, Glee.
Yeah, really, I see you. How you doing?
And I do think it was, like, really good casting to make this, like, you know, visually, like, blonde, like, she stands out against this group of people. Like, she visually is just
literally pops.
And just having her be this, like, non-Jewish, what do they keep calling her?
Shiksa.
Which again is funny because Diana Agron is Jewish in real life and Rachel Sennett is not. But just, having her be this, like, she says the words wrong, she brought the baby to the thing you don't bring the baby to, like, she is making all these mistakes, yet she is regarded as, like, the most respectable person, like...
in the room.
Yeah, she's almost, like, being compared to everyone's daughter, but then behind her back, they're like, oh, he should have married a Jewish girl. Like, he should have married her. Even though she's so impressive on paper, they still, like, find things to criticize about her, which is so, like, that is so Family Gathering.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, every person you talk to is, like, talking shit about somebody else. I mean, not my family specifically. We would never, but...
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you guys still going?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're
you guys been going
marathoning.
forever.
Yeah, we're having a second one. But
I don't really want to be a girl boss. That's just not really
Yeah,
my thing.
oh my god. Well, that line, I believe, was improvised, which is so perfect.
Fucking genius.
Yeah, and the reaction of Diana, like, to that, also perfect. Like, I don't know. Like, that was definitely just one of those, lines that stuck with me the first time I watched it.
I was, like, ironically saying girl boss, I guess, a lot one night, and, like, somebody got really mad at me. They're like, you keep saying, like, you keep, like, saying girl boss, and I don't like that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
No,
I'm,
but
like,
girl
saying
boss.
I'm saying it ironically.
Yeah. Come on, give me a chance. No, it's always, too, like, the amount of times that Danielle's being pushed forward to, like, connect with people and get a job at the family function, too.
Oh, the networking.
Oh my god.
Yeah, right? Like, let me live for 5 seconds.
Like, I love my family, and they're all obviously very supportive of me, but, like, the amount of times my dad will, like, send me a link to a job or whatever, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not even, it's, like, executive manager of something, I'm like, Bob, I haven't even been someone's assistant.
Yeah, you don't understand that, like, when they say that you need 5 years of experience, that really means 10.
Yeah.
I have 0.
Exactly.
And I'm like, mind your business. But then I'm like, can I have money?
Please help me. Please help me. But, yeah, the way that this movie was shot really did it for me. I love the tunnel vision, and there's this one scene where it's, God, what is it? This one scene, yeah, it's the after she sucked dick kind of, or wanted to suck dick kind of thing. And she's just got this 1,000-yard stare having these conversations, like surrounded by her whole family, and she just breaks down and has to, like, yell, like, stop, because everything's way too
Everyone's,
much.
like, touching her. I so feel that. I'm like, don't touch me.
Please. But, no, Rachel Sennett has those big Emma Stone eyes.
Yeah, and
you know
I
what
think
I mean?
it's called, like, when you have whites on the sides, but also underneath your eyes. It's called, like, senpaku eyes. And it's when you can see the whites, like, underneath, and it is really good for portraying, like, things that are, like, ominous or impending doom, because that's what people look like usually when they're, like, head is downcast, you know. But if you just kind of have those eyes naturally, you're very, you know, tend to be very expressive, especially with, like, fear and things like that. Like, Princess Diana had them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, senpaku eye is pretty interesting. It's like a genetic thing. I don't know. But you'll notice a lot of actors have them because it, like, I think Robert Pattinson has them maybe.
Interesting.
Like, you can be a little bit more, like, moody and brooding because your eyes can be. But yeah, her, like, micro expressions in this movie really, like, send it, because the camera can meditate on something so mundane, like her like, scooping the food onto her plate and then pushing it off and then re-scooping it on and pushing it off. And she just is doing this, like, super mundane thing, but you look at her face and you, like, almost can tell what she's thinking and feeling, which it shouldn't work, you know? It should be so boring to watch a movie about a girl navigating social awkward social interactions at a post-funeral party. Like, that's the most boring.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at your eyes now.
No, I don't have them. You can see the whites on the sides, but not underneath.
I don't, right?
No, you don't either.
I guess Billie Eilish is, like, poster child for it.
Yeah, because it's, like, you very much get that.
Yeah, crazy.
It's almost, like a little bit sleepy.
Yeah.
But like, still expressive. Which is, like, you know, can do moody pretty well.
Yeah. Huh. I gotta look at Maya's eyes, because I always tell them that they have sleepy eyes.
You look as sleepy. When my cat is sleepy, we say he's eepy. So he's like, eepy. We're like, Winston, why you eepy?
Oh my god.
Why he eepy? Okay, so, fuck, marry, kill, I feel like is Danielle, Maya, and then Max.
But I feel like both of us are gonna kill Max, so let's throw in Diana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know her character's name.
Yeah,
I'm so
whatever.
awful. I'm gonna marry Maya. Actually, no, I'm gonna marry Danielle, because I feel like Maya has that, like, I'm gonna say one, like, psychologically damaging thing to cut to your, so deep to your core. Like, when you're having a fight with someone and they say something that you're like, oh, that was out of pocket. Like, I feel like she would do that so casually and without any hesitation that I simply could not handle. Yeah. Whereas I'm also kind of messy and, like, don't really know what's going on and kind of just a human disaster. So I feel like Danielle and I might be a good pair. And we would be girl bossing together, I think. And then I'm gonna I'll fuck Maya and I'll kill Diana Agron.
See, I really disliked Maya's character in this because I think, yeah, like you said, she's too casual about saying like really mean shit, and that rubs me the wrong way, like really bad. So I'm gonna kill her. I'm going to fuck Diana Agron. Maybe if her husband's having a sugar baby kind of moment, she can, and I can be her sugar baby, considering that she's the one with the money anyways. And then I'm gonna marry Danielle because I feel like I'm level with her.
Yeah, we can just kind of be a mess together. I could make her worse.
I won't fix her at all.
I will make her worse. And then what do you eat and drink with this? I feel like you said you had a pretty good one, right?
I've got a decent one. I think that you get specifically a jug of a Carlo Rossi wine of your choice, preferably something red, I think. And then I think I was trying to stay kind of on brand with the vibe of the food that was at the Shiva. I think you make yourself a chicken salad sandwich.
That is revolting.
I've had one that's like really good though.
I don't fuck with like mayo based.
I don't usually either, but every now and then there's a good one that comes to me.
Ugh. We've had this
I
conversation.
don't order them. Like,
you don't eat egg salad though, right?
Fuck no.
Yeah, okay. That would be really crossing a line.
No.
I have to look at it
anything
differently.
hard boiled.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But what about you?
And then what do you? Oh, Carlo Rossi drink. Yeah, that sounds awful. That sounds like the way that this movie makes me feel.
But the Carlo Rossi
but it's also bad, but it's good bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the discordant violin plucking stress-inducing music is like really akin to what is in my mind when I'm shopping at a Trader Joe's that's like too busy. Is like I'm like getting sweaty and I'm like, and my vision is a shaky handheld camera. Like I really feel the way that Danielle feels throughout most of this movie when I'm just like trying to get my orange chicken. So I do think you just like, when you like panic grab something at Trader Joe's because you're like, I'm shopping, but I'm sweaty.
So you have to go there on a Sunday.
Yes, like peak business hours, ideally somewhere like in a populated city.
Yeah, Sunday like 12 p.m.
Right, where I'm like, I'm sweaty, there's people touching me, this is awful, I just need to get out of here, but I need something for dinner. So you just like, whatever you randomly grab is what you're gonna eat. And then I feel like drink, this is my go-to at any bar, anywhere that doesn't have a menu, where you just have to like order something off the cuff. But it's also like my primary, like I need to get drunk at a family function drink. Yeah. That you can pound a lot of them. They're not super complicated. You can get them just about anywhere, and that's a gin and tonic. And I think that's what this movie is. It's
I like that.
It's succinct. It's good. It's not doing more than it needs to. It's getting the job done. Yep. And I am drunk after 3 of them. So it's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I think you do a stress butt Trader Joe's meal and a G&T.
I like that. I like that a lot. And what are you going to follow this up with? I said you can watch just about any episode of Broad City where Alana's mom is one of the main characters.
Is Fran Drescher Alana's mom or her aunt?
No.
Oh, her aunt. It's her aunt is Fran Drescher. Her mom is...
Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah.
Or there's the one where you can watch the episode of Broad City, which is, it's season 5, episode 6, where Alana breaks out her 16th cousin from the retirement home and takes him around New York because he's like a Holocaust survivor. So I think you could do that one. Saul Goodman, and they end up finding him at IKEA.
Saul Goodman?
No, not Saul Goodman. Is it? Hold on.
Saul Goodman is the name of Better Call Saul.
It's Saul, hold on. Saul, from...
I thought you were going to say the Florida episode.
What is it?
In Florida.
That one's good, too.
I love that one.
What's his name? Fuck.
It's probably not that important.
No, but now I need to know what it is. But anyways, what do you think? What do you?
I have so 2 movies that I think also capture that in the pocket, impending stress vibe are Mother, which we have covered on this podcast. It's a very different kind of stress, but I think it very acutely makes you as a viewer feel exactly what Jennifer Lawrence is feeling in most moments. Very, very stressful.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Saul Borowitz.
Saul Borowitz. And I also feel 8th grade, Bo Burnham's directorial
Oh, yeah, I haven't
debut.
seen that.
I only saw it once in theaters, and I remember, like, tugging on my sweatshirt strings so tight to make a little hole around my face because I felt so much, like, secondhand cringe. But, like, it's perfect because if a movie can make me feel so, like, crawling out of my skin, that's, like, an achievement.
Yeah.
But I think, objectively, you don't want another one of those after this. So
No.
they end the movie all piled into a van. So a movie that I really just enjoy that is about a family, a chaotic family in a van is Little Miss Sunshine.
Nice.
So I feel like that's just a movie that makes me smile. So I'm like, that's what I need after Shiva Babies. I need to like feel, even though Little Miss Sunshine is also a little bit
stressful,
like, stressful, angsty, a little bit sad at times. It ultimately does make me happy. So I say you follow up with that. And what do you rate this out of 10? I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah, I give it a 9.
Yeah.
I love this movie. It doesn't get old to me at all. I think it keeps its genius as well. Like, sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, okay, this isn't, like, as smart as I thought it was.
This is, like, times a billion.
It continues to get better, and I feel like I'm pick up something new every time I watch it, too.
And I'm surprised you enjoy this movie so much because I think of you as a person who does not enjoy, like, secondhand embarrassment or, like, secondhand stress.
I don't like it when it's, like, too cringe. Like, this isn't cringe to me.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? It's stressful. It's secondhand stress, but it's not cringe. I don't love cringe.
I guess, yeah,
like,
secondhand stress.
Like Nathan Fielder or whatever, don't love him.
You don't like Nathan for you?
Not really.
This is, I think, the difference between us because I kind of live for the secondhand cringe. Like, I love a cringe media. Yeah, I guess that's true. The difference between, like, stress and cringe is definitely pointed. It's a thin line. And then that's it.
That's about it.
Oh my god.
That's the podcast.
Wow. So we're doing unfortunately we were gonna do the movie The Watermelon Woman, which is also like a queer filmmaker, but it cannot be found anywhere other than Showtime, and we don't have a Showtime subscription. So like literally we couldn't even rent it.
Yeah.
So shouts out to The Watermelon Woman though, if anyone wants to give us their Showtime login.
Yeah, we would love to watch it.
We would love to watch it, but we hard pivoted this week for Shiva Baby, but this whole month we will be covering movies actually made or written or whatever by queer people, queer filmmakers, and we also have a really fun surprise. So I believe it's next Wednesday. Mark your calendars. 1 week from today's episode, we are going to have some very special guests from the Wonka Watch podcast, which I know some of our listeners have been like, oh, we also like Wonka Watch, you guys should collab. And I, after a few glasses of wine, messaged them on TikTok and was like, hey, you guys seem really cool. And they were like, yeah, okay. No, they're so nice. And they came on our show, or are coming on our show next week, and we are going to be on their show. So we will have all of that good stuff coming to you next week, so keep an eye out on both our show and the Wonka Watch podcast, which will link in the description below if you want to check them out to do your homework before they come on next week. It's a deep dive into all things Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which you think would get exhaustive after some time, but they are just so like smart and funny that it doesn't matter that they're talking about arguably the same thing every week because they always find something like a new interesting thing to say about it. So definitely highly recommend. And very same like chronically unserious vibes as us. They just kind of shoot the shit. It kind of feels like you're hanging out with friends when you listen to their podcast, which is like my favorite genre vibe of podcast. But additionally, give us 5 stars if you would like to, or DM us on a social media platform of your choice and tell us what you want us to do next. Themes, month themes, movies, general thoughts, feedback, questions, or chocolate or vanilla themes. We love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Happy Pride, and goodbye and good night.